We'll go to item number 5, discussion and action to pursue development of a private prison as economic development. And I'll call your attention to tab number 5, and Joe Doan.
Well, on July 10th, the city of Alva was contacted by Bill Robinson of Correction Concepts, Inc., with the possibility of locating a private prison in the vicinity of Alva. Since that time, the Finance Committee has heard a presentation from Mr. Dwight Bushman, who's here today. The 3 to 5 year plan and the economic impact of the proposal indicates an additional 822 jobs to the community with an annual estimated payroll of $24 million. The average annual wage is $29,325 per year. They estimate $1.4 million annually for contract personnel and expect to expend $143 million an hour for construction, land, and infrastructure. Once up and running, the prison anticipates $1.3 million direct annual revenue to the city in the form of lease payments. The city, the Alva Economic Development Authority, or the Alva Utility Authority would own the building once it was constructed. Construction funds would come in the form of a loan, which would be forgiven once the construction is completed. This is in the form of an economic development proposal. It's a faith-based work ethic correction initiative. Correction Concepts is a 501c3 and was formed by a group of Christian ministers and laymen with demonstrated expertise in correctional services. The Finance Committee has heard the presentations and from Mr. Robinson and Mr. Bushman, and can chime in anytime they would like to. The CCI is a Texas nonprofit corporation and was awarded their 501c3 in 1990. What else? See, they anticipate, again, $1.3 million annual revenue to the city, $706,000 annual revenue to the county. All water and sewer to be purchased from the city. All the CCI employees will be provided on-site health care, free child care. And I would open this up to discussion, and I open it up to Mr. Bushman if he'd like to make any comments about this. I mean, he's in the audience, so I'd like to.
I think probably one distinct difference I'd like to be able to present and make sure you understand is this is a ministry. It's a prison, yes, but it's a ministry to prevent recidivism. That is one of the biggest problems in all states. So this is going to be a prototype of a ministry that will cut the revolving door of prisons, so that just people who are introduced to a prison environment have a very high return rate once they're in that system. And this is a ministry that's going to cut that, which benefits our tax system, the communities, the fathers, mothers, the children, which in this case shows, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the children of people who are in prison have an 80% chance of being introduced to a system themselves. So it's the process in this ministry to cut that out. So it's not any direct competitor, I guess you would say, with the present system that you have out here with EJCC. So for the and then one other thing I think that was brought up in the finance committee meeting was how to compete for jobs or how they would get jobs. As a ministry, there's a lot of people who see this different than just a job. They want to come in, and it's one of their life missions is to work and help people in their life to turn it around and help as a ministry instead of a prison job. So that's one of the big differences that would bring to the community. And if there's any other questions, I'll attend.
Mr. Bushman, is there another faith-based work ethic corrections institution in the country at this time?
Hybrids, or those who have attempted to do that, this is the one that's going to be totally faith-based. It's a prototype, I guess, of what they are doing. So there are some who have introduced that, and statistics have shown, for example, down at Granite, where they have a lot of problems here in Oklahoma in the past, when they've introduced Christian or faith-based concepts within the facility, there are offenses, the worst kind of offense, and I forget what that is classified, has gone down dramatically. But in this facility, these people will be offered jobs, they'll be able to pay back society, they'll have, when they come out, they'll be monitored and mentored for a year afterwards, and so when they come out, they'll have money in their pocket and the jobs that they'll be able to complete within the system itself. And so they are prepped and ready for society again, and that's one of the things we're trying to do.
Can you tell me what states you have contracts with the House President?
There are no existing contracts now. There are situations where states have contracted, and I'd say they're geared up and ready to make a contract, but the facility has to exist before you can make a contract. So there's Alabama, California, Kansas. I was trying to remember several that he's got online right now. And of course, Oklahoma's got a problem too.
And my understanding is from doing some research in newspaper articles that this was proposed in Grant County as early as 2009 and has not moved forward.
I've worked on that. It has moved forward. The reason we are here is because one individual who people had confidence in, thought he was going to be progressive in that nature, backtracked on him, and he's put pretty much a stop to the whole thing. And so if it can't go there, there's no reason, he elicits no reason why he doesn't want it. He's a new retiree to Waukeeta, grew up there as a young person, but came back to retire and just for no reason just wants to stop it. So, since he's the head of the trustee council there, he swings that larger hatchet than the rest of them.
How many acre tract of land would this require, Dwight?
He'd like 160 acres. He can do less. I think anywhere between 100 and 120 would probably work.
Mr. Mayor, may I inquire?
Yes.
Since we'd have to look at contracts and things, but has your organization had any negotiations or discussions with the Oklahoma Department of Corrections about placement of any inmates in this type of facility?
Yeah, we've extensive. Got to know Justin very well.
Is that something that you would anticipate? You have some commitment if this facility existed that there would be the probability of some contract with DOC to use that?
Bill's got a letter from DOC. They're on the approved contract list.
And do you have any of that kind of correspondence that you could provide?
Yes.
So I could look at on behalf of the council? And obviously, I think what Mr. Valencia was asking is very important, but you're looking at a multi-state group that would be incarcerated here. Is that right?
Correct.
And would they be minimum, medium, maximum security?
Typically, they would be in the last 2 years, plus or minus, of their incarceration, and they have to make application to the facility and go by the guidelines that the facility would have imposed upon them.
What kind of criteria would you expect? I mean, you could have someone finishing up a manslaughter charge or a second-degree murder charge be in the last year or two and be eligible then.
It would have to go through the application process, which is the habilitation house would interview them, would interview the person themselves, and I think there's also some interfacing with the people who are responsible for them in the facility that's going to be tripping them in.
So do you all have written criteria now that exist for how that decision would be made?
Yes, he does.
And can you all provide that?
And he can provide that for you.
Okay. And in that process, then, would I assume the state that is going to do that, is there going to be there's going to have to be negotiation between your organization and that state agency to make sure that they're discharged out here, and everyone here would be qualified to supervise multi-state prisoners?
I'm trying to remember right off the top of my head, their certification is a national certification that not very many prisons in the United States have. What is that certification? But anyway, it's a top certification, and that certification will be applied to this agency.
And again, that would be available for review,
That would
so
be
we
available for
report that back. How do you anticipate this is working? I've read some of your scans, some of your materials that I've gotten. City of Alva's obligation for this, what is it they're looking for, this organization?
A place, a nest, and so the funding is there. Liability to the town is just virtually, anybody can sue anybody for anything, but the liability to the town is fairly negligible. The attorneys, Sokolov, you've heard of their names, they're quite famous, and they've agreed to defend the institution and the town from lawsuits that would have to do with the faith-based institution.
My understanding is that the city would own the buildings after construction. So then if this failed to materialize and could not get contracts to house prisoners, the city is responsible for the payment then on that building.
No, there would be no payment. After the construction is done, the housing in the prison, it's completely paid off. The loan is forgiven.
Even if there's no prisoners?
Even if there's no prisoners, I guess, yes. Nobody's asked that question quite like that, but after the construction is done, we can clarify that issue.
So I mean, you're going to have investors invest in this, and if it doesn't come to fruition, they're just...
Bill is more familiar with how that is operating, how that is structured. I'm not. I just know that after the facility and housing are constructed, it's a forgivable loan, and that's in some way they've got. I remember that not too long ago they had the IRS review what was being done so that they were sure that it was going to float. So,
But it has to be through a governmental entity, is the way I read this, is for that loan to be granted. And my concern is I haven't been able to review this in detail, is that there might be some obligations of that governmental entity in the event that this doesn't come to fruition.
what allows this project to take place is there are intergovernment agreements, and so as a sheriff's office or some other facility or some other state can make an agreement with a state institution, prison system, for the keeping of the prisoners, the government entity, for example, ALVA, or the authority that would handle it, has the authority, because it is a government entity, to contract with the state or other states.
My main concern is I haven't seen any of this documentation, and I think I would want to, on behalf of the council, have an opportunity to review that to make sure those contracts and what the obligations are, responsibilities are all laid out, to be able to come back and tell this board that
And
what
and
you're buying.
This is kind of an exploratory session with you all, so that you have time to do your due diligence. And so that's what the resolution is for. It gives you time to back off and do any due diligence that you need to really make up your mind. There's no way that I would, if I were in your place, feel that I have enough information to digest what is going to happen. And so Bill told me that when you're ready, he's got it all. He's got everything together up there in his head. So he told me when you're ready to, after you've done what you want to do on your due diligence, he'd come up and get with you all and the attorney for that will represent your authority, Jack Sheedy, and he's doing that for nothing for the authority until the time that the money is sequestered. So.
Well, of course, my concerns would be about finding suitable property to place the facility, and the fact that the city would own it, and we'd have an ongoing maintenance expense. And then I'm also concerned about employment, as Warden Melton will probably be willing to share. It's hard to find correctional employees, and here we're looking at a need for over 800. So I'm just concerned with a low unemployment rate in Woods County at this time. It might be difficult to recruit those people.
It's a ministry. It's a mission project for a lot of people that will come in. We've had people that's even moved into Waukeeta in preparation for it. We're going into Waukeeta. They moved into other states because it was their mission that they wanted to be able to help people in a faith-based way. So it's much like somebody going to Brazil, Chile, Africa, Mexico, or something. It's a calling for them. It's not necessarily a job. It's a calling. So that differs differently, and so the group or the facility has a wider base. I guess you could call it a base that would want to and does want to come in. They do have quite a few applications that are sitting and waiting for this project to be treasured. So I don't see it as any huge negative impact on the JCC in that regard.
Do they have to be certified, though, some way? I mean, DOC obviously has extensive training for their guards, and there would be some security risk here. I mean, any type of prison, faith-based or otherwise. So do they have to have specialized training for the state of Oklahoma in order to work in those positions?
They have to be. I'm not. That is a question that would have to be addressed to Bill. It's part of the due diligence process that we'll have to go through for you to know that.
As a part of the milestones that have been reached, one of them is that the experienced staff and staffing pattern is in place. As a milestone that's already been reached to date, doesn't seem to me.
There
that
are
could be
people,
possible.
that's true. There are people who are in the waiting rooms, waiting to come in when this is accomplished.
And then the inpatient transfer agreement with an off-site health care facility is in place. Is that with Share Medical Center? Is that
Since we may possibly be into a move, that would be probably something that would be negotiated. So part of the due diligence process would have to involve that, or the ongoing project as it goes forward. That is something that would have to take place. So as we change locations, there would probably be some need to make adjustments to the needs that have been met.
and the emphasis on the hiring of people of like faith, is this a specific religious base to this, or is there a specific church backing this process, or is it multiple churches of Christian
Multiple
faiths?
churches, yeah. Christian faith.
Anything else for Mr. Bushman? Would it be the council's desire for Mr. Bushman to prepare those documents as have been requested by the city attorney and sent to him for his perusal? Would that be your wish at this time? Okay, any discussion? I don't see a motion, Mr. Bushman. Thank you.